Hello, everybody. This is Rick DiClemente in Pittsburgh with Star Self Astrology. Tonight, we're going to be going over in great detail the natal chart of Hillary Clinton. We have 90 guests with us tonight. So we're going to mainly put a picture of the chart in front of you, and I'll be pointing out and going through it slowly. If you would like a copy of that chart for yourself, you can get a copy at the following URL. If you want a copy of the picture of the chart, go to starself.com, /back, BACK/Hillary.jpg. Hello, Lisa. Hello, everybody. Good to have you. I'm going to get started. I'm sharing the screen now. And John, let me know what's going on. I can only see John. You should be able to see me and the chart of Hillary Clinton in front of you. You have something? Okay. Liza Jane Brown, my partner, is with me today. Hillary was born on October 26th, back in 1947. The time we have, as you know, with all astrologers, we all argue about birth times, but the most popular time that astrologers seem to be working with is 8:02 in the morning, born in Chicago, Illinois. As you can see, and John, let me know if anything disappears on you. I'll stop for a second. Most of you, okay, see the chart? Okay, very good. Thank you very much.
No problems.
All right. John and I are still getting used to this. By the way, John's one of my assistants working out of Columbus, Ohio. Okay, now we're going to start slowly because most people do not know that you're much more than your sun sign. And you can see with Hillary that she is a Scorpio. I'm going to change wheels for the moment so you'll be able to make more sense out of the wheel. All right. You see she's a Scorpio. Sun is in Scorpio. Here's the sign of Scorpio. Here's the sign of Sagittarius, Capricorn, Aquarius. So you can see the astrological zodiacal belt goes all the way around. So she was born 2 days into Scorpio. The sun takes 30 days to go through Scorpio. Then the next two things that are really important in the chart is your moon sign. Her moon was in Pisces at the time of her birth, and your rising sign, which was also Scorpio. So people that are born near sunrise, she's born 8:02 in the morning in the fall. People that are born near sunrise usually are double. So she's a double Scorpio, meaning she's sun in Scorpio and she's Scorpio rising. Now, the way the zodiac works and what's so confusing to beginners and non-astrologers is this. Watch this. If she were born, I'm going to animate this chart. If she were born 1 hour later, this is what her chart looked like. 2 hours later, 3 hours later, 4 hours later. So if she were born near noon, her sun would be at the top and she would have Capricorn rising. So that's what it means, and that's why the rising signs are very different than the sun sign. The sun sign merely means what sign of the zodiac was your sun going through, and the rising sign and the house structure 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 through 12. Those houses are totally determined by your birth time. So this is a very accurate chart of her birth time with sun in Scorpio, moon in Pisces, Mercury is in Scorpio, Venus is in Scorpio, etc. I'm going to switch to another type of chart because it's easier for me to read. So I want to go here, and I'm going to go to this, and go to wheel style, and go to Unit 2, All right. So this is a chart we'll be working with. In astrology, you have 5 personal planets. Your sun, the moon, Mercury, which is your mind, Venus, which is your receptivity, Mars, which is your aggressive side. Venus is your yin, Mars is your yang. So those 5 personal planets move very quickly, and they have a lot to do with making up the personality. So again, Sun in Scorpio, and during that month that she was Sun in Scorpio, that moon could have been anywhere in the whole zodiac. Mythically, we put the Earth in the center. Of course, it's not really that way, but in Western astrology, the Earth is in the center. Now, when you have a Scorpio, you have a very intense personality. Now, what makes them so unique is they are called a fixed water sign. A water sign is an emotional person. And when you have fixed water, you have people that on one end are very intense emotionally, on the other end, intensely angry. Now, you must remember tonight as I go through this chart that other people were born in Chicago at that time, and of course, they're not ending up near the White House. They could be using their energies totally differently than Hillary does. So a lot of these things have to do with your genetic makeup, your past lives, your parents, your economic situation. So a chart does not tell you exactly what a person's going to be like, but it gives you a great idea of what the propensities are. I will not make up my mind and give you my conclusion on the analysis of her chart till the very end, because it's very important. As I work with so many beginners and so many students, it's very common that people want to open the chart up and just read it to you. They think you can open the chart, do the chart, and tell the person what they're like. It's much, much more difficult than that. So that's why I'm always harping on my students to use a small brush, to use a pencil instead of a pen. We're going to start to paint the picture of what makes Hillary tick. You've got a very intense Scorpio woman. You've got the moon in Pisces, which by itself means she's very tender, very emotional, very universal, motherly, nurturing. Now remember, as you draw these little bits using a small brush, when you start to hear common themes, then you start to know it's really part of the personality. So this kind of shows that she doesn't like confrontation and she runs from it. And as you well know, the rest of the chart surely must show us that she doesn't. And that's the case with her here. So the moon in Pisces remains quite a mystery in this chart. The Mercury in the chart is very strongly placed in the sign of Scorpio. And Mercury in Scorpio is the type of mind that is very incisive. It's the psychologist. You can't get things past her. She looks right through things. It's the detective. It's a very intense mind. Hillary Clinton has a very powerful chart. Now, how she uses her power is up to her. But it's a very strong chart for many reasons. The next 2 personal planets are very important, and they're played up a lot in newspapers and magazines, Venus and Mars. And Venus is in Scorpio, and Mars is in Leo. Well, your Venus you could think of as your receptive part, how you receive love. If you want to know how to date somebody, find out where their Venus is and treat them accordingly, and you're got a big head start. The Mars is the yang part of you, and it needs to be strong. The Mars is how you go get what you want. And Mars in Leo is very strong, because Leo is, I will do this, and I go and I do it. So Venus in Scorpio is very strong also. And when you combine Venus and Mars in a person's chart, you will know much about their sexual nature, their sensuous nature. And with her, the fixed signs of Scorpio and Leo, she can be very, very, very stubborn. With Venus and Scorpio and with Mars and Leo. These are fixed, these are fixed, these are fixed. This is fixed, 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 fixed. Fixed signs in astrology are signs that are stubborn, they're unyielding, they're strong, they're intense. So we see just in her first 5 personal planets that she's very intense, she's very emotionally receptive, she's very incisive mentally, she's very sensitive emotionally, and she's also very proud. Now, when you're born in 1947, and I've seen so many people, and it's not because of Roswell incident, 1947 people are very strong and they're very powerful because in 1947, Saturn and Pluto were traveling together. So here you see it again, within 7 degrees. Saturn, Pluto people of 1947, you do not back these people in the corner. They will come out fighting. They are survivors. And just take a look at what Hillary did in front of that Benghazi committee and how she had to withstand hours of people pounding on her. Like it, believe it or not. But she's tough, she's strong. And when you put Mars in a birth chart at the same degree as Pluto, which is the ruling planet of Scorpio, you've got yourself a fighter. You've got yourself a very worthy opponent. Now, when a person has Pluto Mars, and you start combining the inner planets like Mars with outer planets like intense Pluto, you got the potential here for her to use that energy very wrongly, or she could be using it very rightly. But Pluto and Mars people are very intense. They're very strong. They can be very one-pointed, let alone the fact that I'm going to get to later. Right next to it is Saturn. So in 1947, you had Saturn and Pluto together, and she happened to have Mars next to it. So these two in 1947 stayed next to each other while Mars went all the way around the circle every 2 years. Just so happened she was born with all 3 of them. Now, this is the 9th house. Everybody in the world, their 9th house is up in this area. Everybody's 1st house is in this area. Everybody's 4th house is near the bottom. I'm not going to go into all that now. But the 9th house is the philosophical house. It has a lot to do with your education, your belief system, your religion, what was fed to you. This means that when she's sure of herself and she will stand up to anybody. Anybody. And it can even be bad in the sense that she might be wrong, but she won't admit it. This is a very cocksure person. She knows how she thinks, and she doesn't even appreciate, thank you very much, people that disagree with her. All right. So we're going to go back and forth. I know this is a lot. I'm going to try to keep the astro lingo out of it. Shake your heads, everybody, if you saw the chart. Okay? Good. Thank you. So we know that astrology is a mixture of so many conflicting variables, and we're not even nearly ready to paint her personality yet. We're just getting some of the elements, okay? So we can see that she's got intensity, she's very strong, she's got very strong ideals, very strong intellect. She's a very powerful person, and the question immediately becomes to the astrologer, Is she using her power wisely? I want to know, and Liza and I were studying tonight, why she always has scandals. Why? Why does she draw a scandal to herself, right or wrong, every other day? Well, we happen to think it has a lot to do with the combination of the Scorpio plus the Leo energy, but that's a little bit for later. When we get to questions later, don't ask any questions that start with the word will, because I don't know what will happen. I don't know if she will win. She will not win. I got my personal opinion, but that's not what tonight is about. Tonight is about analyzing her chart. Let me go back to the sharing of the screen. Okay, now we see in astrology, these are called the 4 angles. Right here is the ascendant, the descendant. This ascendant and descendant is formulated by the birth time. This is actually the horizon when she was born. So the sun had just risen. Sometimes you can see the sun and Venus in the morning. So the sun and Venus were there. You're not going to see Mercury because it's too close to the sun. Jupiter is just about to rise. This is Chiron, who is kind of like an asteroid who's going to come into play here soon. These other planets are high in the sky. You can't see Pluto and Saturn as the sun has risen. So the moon was below the horizon. In the day, the sun goes all the way around. It sets, it hits midnight, it rises for the next day. So when a planet is born near these angles, it becomes really a big deal. This ascendant has a lot to do with the self, the other, me, marriage, me plus others. This is very, very important. This other angle, the midheaven and the nadir, the midheaven and the nadir, ascendant, the midheaven, the descendant, and the nadir. This angle is very critical in astrology. This is where you came from, whether it's past life or family or heritage. Where did you come from? Your home. Where are you going to? This is the career line. So these 4 lines, these 2 long lines, these are very much, these are like the pieces of wood on a kite. The critical part of astrology is not your sun sign. It is that kite. The ascendant, the descendant, the midheaven, the nadir. And they flex a little bit just like a kite does. But that's the structure of the ego. That's the structure of the self. And that's why you meet one Virgo, doesn't seem like a Virgo. You meet another Virgo, seems like a Virgo, because of how their planets line up with these angles. Now, I'm not going to go into great detail about the angles, but I'm going to suffice it to say, when you are born and your planet is next to an angle, draw that planet really big. So you might be a relatively weak sign, like Pisces, but your Mars might be on one of those angles. So you're very Martian, which is very strong. And you're wondering, why is this Pisces person next to me so aggressive and so strong? It's because the Mars is near the angle. You don't have to worry about the how to. Just remember, when planets are angular, they're a big deal. So let me go back and show you what this means. Okay, we see that Mercury is right there, 21 degrees, and here's the ascendant at 22. This means that she's very mercurial. Mercury is their planet that rules Gemini. Now, what this is amazing is Gemini is known for lateral knowledge. They know about this, they know about this, they know about this, but they're not known for their depth. Well, Mercury in Scorpio is known for their depth. So this woman has lateral knowledge and deep knowledge. She's got both. You do not mess with her mentally. She's extremely powerful. Okay? Next, you see Jupiter's rising. Jupiter is in Sagittarius, which is the sign that it rules. It is right there by the ascendant. This is a massively powerful Jupiter. In my opinion, Jupiter is the planet. Everybody overestimates Jupiter. It's the good luck planet. There's much more to Jupiter than this. Jupiter is the reason that Hillary Clinton gets away with blank. She gets away with this. She gets the FBI on her tail, then they're off her tail. She gets Whitewater on her tail, then they're off her tail. Jupiter has a lot to do with that, and it's not because of good luck. Some people think when your Jupiter is strong, it's because of good karma. I'm not a karma expert. I'm not going to comment. Some people think that you get away with whatever because Jupiter just gives off such good vibes. Hey, buddy, how you doing? It comes across as benevolent. And that's why people let you slide. We could talk all night why your Jupiter is so strong, but the fact is it is. I could guess till the cows come home. And I could tell by the way things are going that we're going to have that last half hour available to you for questions. So that's good. So the next thing we want to look at is the Sun and Chiron and Venus and Mercury are all in the 12th house. The 12th house is the place in a chart that's like the 12th sign of Pisces. It has the worst reputation in the zodiac. It's known as the house of undoing. I think it's very misunderstood. Matter of fact, I think all 12 houses are very misunderstood. This is the house of hospitals, crime, hidden hospitals, underground, secret activities, secret societies. It's a very hard house to understand. And this is very indicative of what Scorpio already, but a dark animal that's always under the water in the depths. You go to most Scorpio's houses, they don't like the lights on. They have a light skin. They have sunglasses on. They don't like the light. Why? Because they're sensitive and they seem to appear to be happiest when they're moving through the shadows. Now, don't tell me you know Scorpio that's all bright and they like the lights on. I mean, of course. I'm being very general with you about the basic sun sign. Scorpios like to move in secret. They like to move in the darkness and the shadows because they're suspicious. I think of Robert Fripp, the guitarist, the wonderful guitarist for King Crimson, and how he's been playing 40 years with the same band. And when you go see him, he's sitting on a stool. He's on the edge of the seat. He's in the shadows. Yeah, you see how most bands are. They're up front in the light, standing. He likes to play on a stool. He plays better that way. He's got a moon in Scorpio, and he likes to be in the shadow. That's where his power comes from. So we know that this is what you've been sensing all along. This is why you're here tonight, because you're sensing this darkness in her that's also got this lightness. This darkness with this lightness. And it's kind of nutso and maddening to try to figure out what makes her tick. Well, the reason why is this. The ascendant has a lot to do with your mask. maybe not even your intentional mask, how you appear to the public. What do you look like? And when you got Mercury, it makes you look like a Gemini. Mercury. So the Mercury that's in Scorpio is secondary. The Mercury in Scorpio is the penetrating Freudian mind, Jungian mind, but it's Mercury itself. And I learned a long time ago, when a planet is near the angle, you make a big deal out of the planet. Not the fact that Mercury's in Scorpio, but the fact that Mercury itself, and Mercury itself is very Gemini-like. It's very lighthearted, it's kind of childlike, it's fun, it's light, and you've got lighthearted Jupiter. So, you've got this mask that's so lighthearted. I mean good, I don't mean bad. She has this beautiful smile, very beautiful smile, but still such a huge percentage of this country doesn't trust her. Well, if she just had Mercury and she just had Sagittarius, people would trust her, but they can sense the underpinnings. They can sense the river going deeper. So, I think she uses it to her advantage, and I also think it's part of her absolute nature to have this lighthearted nature out front. Now, one of the reasons why, and I'm just going to tell you how it is, when you have a lot of Gemini and you have a lot of Sagittarius, you have the potential of a very slippery personality. Slippery, evasive. There's a good kind of evasive. There's a bad kind of evasive. The evasiveness of Gemini is really not malicious. It just doesn't like being pinned down. There's an evasiveness to Sagittarius. We see these energies very prevalent in Mr. Trump, who's very evasive. Why does Sagittarius like to be evasive? Because Sagittarius doesn't want any bummers. Doesn't want any negativity, wants things to be fun. It just flings things off, it's carefree. So we see with the powerful Scorpio nature, along with Chiron in Scorpio in the 12th house, we're starting now to get a real picture of this woman. Chiron is a centaur, shaped like the Sagittarian centaur. Horse body, human upper half. When Chiron is in Scorpio, it's not just that Chiron's nature and reputation of being the wounded healer. Chiron has to do with your mission. You're obsessed with it. You're drawn to it, what I call the hero's journey. People have to do what their Chiron says. If I took each of you and patiently read to you about your Chiron, you would find and you would recognize that part of you that's like a moth going to the flame. So she has this very deep, strong need to stay under the radar, in the shadows, working behind the scenes. The Clinton Foundation? Question mark. This moon is impossible to translate because the moon is not a strong planet. And what's so interesting about Hillary is she's triple water. Water are the emotional signs. A triple water person should be very obviously emotional. You got the moon in Pisces, water sign. You got Scorpio rising, water sign. Sun in Scorpio, water sign. Why do you not sense more water from her? 2 reasons. 3 planets in Leo and Saturn. This is the secret to the chart. Saturn, right there. Why? Not only is it powerful and possibly dictatorial, but it squares the ascendant. See the ascendant at 22? And there's Saturn. And when you got Saturn up there squaring the ascendant, squaring the descendant, you've got somebody with a very strong fist and a grasp. The ascendant is how I treat myself. The descendant is how I treat others. And when a planet is at the top, at the midpoint, that governs how you relate to others. So there's a very strong, Saturn and Pluto and Mars in Leo is a very dictatorial placement. Now I'm going to get to my point. I do not know. You see all these different schools of thoughts. It is just about impossible. Just about impossible, in my opinion, after 38 years, that she can get past this dictatorial tendency. Here's what I think her chart says. It says, I'm going to move secretly. I'm very powerful. I see through everything. I've got this real tantalizing, useful, convincing, benevolent mask in front of me that's lighthearted, yay, 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 yay. But this Saturn is very, very strong. And when you analyze most Scorpios, most of them, if they go negative, if they do go negative, because some of them are so wonderful, they really are. If you analyze most Scorpios, you will find that their temptation and they're drawn to power. Knowledge is power. That's the secret of Scorpios. Knowledge is power. Now, I think that that's very strong in the chart. And I think it's very prevalent and it's very important. But I do not think it is the primary force at work in this chart. I believe the chart is totally governed by the Saturn in Leo, the Pluto in Leo, the Mars in Leo at the top of the chart. And what that tells me, more than power, what I believe is that she wants to be the queen. She wants to be on top. The power is secondary, but I believe she feels entitled. I believe that she can handle it. I believe that she feels she deserves it. I personally believe that her energies are dangerous. And now I'm going to get to something that I think is really fascinating. And I've been doing this a long time, and I feel pretty accurate saying this. Talk about France getting bombarded. Talk about people in Florida. Talk about the shootings. Talk about the terrorists. They are happening because the United States chart has the sun right here in Cancer and transiting Pluto is right here. So in the lifetime of America, the sun is here in Cancer, 4th of July. In the 250 years of America, Pluto has gone all the way around the chart, and it's back here opposite the sun. Pluto doesn't mess around. Now, what does that mean? Pluto has been exactly opposite the sun in the past year or so. A big deal. In astrology, an opposition has a 7th house connotation. Let me show you what I mean. If I go to find a USA's chart, Okay. You see the USA's chart? Here is the sun, and Pluto is right here right now. In our lifetimes, Pluto's gone all the way around. Right now, Pluto is right here. It's about to return, 2023. So Pluto is opposite the sun. Pluto is opposite the sun. The opposition to the sun is just like the first house opposite the seventh house. The first house opposite the seventh house. So I'm going to tell you real straight what this means. When we're talking about the country now, when Pluto's in the seventh house, when the moon is in the seventh house and Jupiter aligns with Mars, I mean, that was ridiculous. It is a test on how we're using our power. And when Pluto returns in a couple of years, is going to be the ultimate part of our test. The reason we're having problems worldwide is because the abuse of energy, the abuse of power by the United States government. That's why. It is symbolized and personified in one way, largely through Hillary Clinton. She has become, along with Trump, she has become a personification of are we using the energy right or are we not? Look how we had Trump, who's clearly using the powers, abusing them. She's got a great history of scandal around power. And then we have Bernie, who you know is not going to abuse his energies. But what happened to him? This is what's happening to America. It's a collective issue. It's not a matter of Hillary. Hillary's doing this all at an unconscious level. Let me show you something. Here's Hillary's chart. In her lifetime, Pluto was going round. Pluto hit the ascendant, Whitewater. When it hit that ascendant, Whitewater scandal. Okay? Okay, you see, I'm sorry, I got the wrong chart. Back me up. Back to Hillary. Pluto was here. He got, in her lifetime, it went from here to here. That's when Whitewater happened. Now, this very powerful ninth house is the house of government. It's the house of foreign learning, transfer students, libraries, philosophy, many things. When Uranus got to here, here's Uranus. When Uranus got to here and got down in this area, boom, she became a senator. Neptune, the spiritual planet. You either get it together spiritually or you have another crisis. Neptune moving. Neptune got to here opposite this, boom. 2008, she lost the election to Obama. These things work like clockwork. So I think, all in all, she has withstood. I've seen, and I've announced, I've seen so many times when she's been hit by big planets, and she shook them off. She shook them off. Now, is this because her Jupiter's so strong? Is this because her Leo's so strong? I don't have the answer. But I do believe I will repeat myself before we go to questions. I see some questions here. I think we saw the animation, the Saturn square Mercury. Saturn square Mercury conjunct Moon. Saturn square Moon conjunct foot in mouth. I don't believe so. Okay. Let me go back to the chart. If it were not for these three planets in that position, I would not feel so strong if they were here, if they were over here. But the fact that they're at the top of the chart and they're dominating the ascendant means to me that not only is she not going to allow somebody to tramp on her, she's going to project herself to other countries. She's going to treat other countries the way she treats other people. So is Trump. That's what we do. You can't treat others the way you don't treat yourself. Not possible. So what did I tell you about Pluto opposite the sun? Pluto opposite the sun means if we're going to have a chance to go through our metamorphosis and be reborn, then we as a country need to stop being heavy-handed and close some of our 170 military bases. We are seen as the dominating heavy hand across the globe, and she is certainly seen as favorable with the military and with Wall Street. It's not a point of her anymore. It's a point of she's the last remnant example of capitalism. Her kind can no longer be accepted. We cannot afford the luxury of a heavy-handed dictator-type personality. The rest of the world has gotten too smart. They're going to stop playing ball with us. They're already showing signs of this. You want to succeed as America? Do what Bernie said. Start coming to the table, talking with other countries. Then they'll have less of a reason to get out their guns and get out their secret weapons and their secret telephone calls and their secret bombs and all this. This is how we do it. We can't find one guy hidden in the mountains of Afghanistan or Somalia. They're not in one place. This is not World War II anymore. This is why Hillary's so important, because she's representative of the old school, the old way, things being done underhanded, shoveling weapons to these people, shoveling money around, keeping the powers that be happy and in control. And if we do, you all know what's going to happen, because the Pluto return is continuing to form. So we've got till 2023, which is about the next 7 years. And in astrological time, that's a very short period. It is happening. I question you and challenge you to tell me one institution in the country that's not been shown to be corrupt. One. Schools, churches, Penn State, banks, SEC. What? We cannot afford a corrupt leader. We cannot afford somebody operating underground. We have to show the rest of the world that we're willing to come on top of the table and meet them fair and square. We all know this. This is why she's prominent now. She's an avatar of the moment. The moment brings forth the personality. She doesn't even have to know this consciously. Does this make sense? All right, John, are you there?
I am, Rick.
Okay, I want to start opening mics. Now, tell me, John, if they want to ask me a question, can they simply unmute themselves and ask the question?
They should be able to. I think there may be a block because I muted everybody, so I'm going to mute everybody all at once, and you're all going to have to remute yourselves so that it doesn't sound like chaos.
Okay, I want to see from the people that are visible. Has this made sense to you, Arnold? Santa, has this made sense to you? Has it made sense? Okay, do you, Linda, do you need more explanation of her chart?
All right, I'm going to unmute everybody. Like I said, you have to remute yourselves at once. And then
makes sense, says Marilyn. All right. Okay, please identify yourself when you're going to talk.
Doesn't have to dig to the bathroom. you know, they have these like
Who
they
is
have
speaking?
to declare their spots or whatever. But I think hers is already settled. But I think she said she'll be back on the 27th.
Is this Claire that's talking?
Yeah, she was a huge help to me again last weekend.
Everybody, I've unmuted your
Really,
mic. You need to read.
I have to say, I'm very, very appreciative of her doing the scut work with me. She shows a lot of love for our family by what she gives to us.
I don't know who's speaking, but it's very garbled.
Time.
All right.
Okay.
Very fortunate that she does
Right.
thank her. So thank you for loving us so much that you do this crap work with me.
I don't know who is speaking.
Okay, so everybody should now have the ability to unmute themselves. I muted everybody, but I've also given everybody the chance to unmute themselves when they have a question. So you can unmute yourself if you have a question for Rick.
Okay, unmute yourself, ask your question, and identify yourself, please. If you have a question, identify yourself, unmute yourself, and ask your question, please.
Hello. Question.
Who is this?
Ray's sister, Ruthie.
Hi, Rick.
Hi, Rick. Question. Do you think the Hillary's moon in Pisces could balance some of the Leo?
Absolutely not. Some of the biggest criminals in our history have had moon in Pisces. I've got moon in Pisces. It's not that it's a criminal sign. It's that the moon in Pisces by itself is very, very weak. It's very impressionable. It's colorable. By itself, the moon in Pisces wouldn't hurt a fly. It's very soft and it takes responsibility and it gets hurt if anybody's hurt. But it's completely overwhelmed by the power of the Scorpio and Leo planets. The moon in Pisces, I think I was telling Liza earlier, I think that when she's with family and her Leo main softens and she feels unthreatened, I think she can be very gentle and very loving, etc. But the moon is way too weak to counterbalance. The personal planets don't have power. The outer planets have power. Outer planets do their thing to the inner planets, not vice versa. Very good question. Okay, go on to the next question.
Hi, Rick. Can you hear me?
Suzanne?
Yeah, I am not an astrologer, but I noticed that she had a lot of activity overloaded in Scorpio.
Right.
And that she also has a lot of planets in the 12th house.
Right.
Is she someone who is so masked, so not with it spiritually? She has the potential to be spiritual, but she just doesn't.
She
can't do it.
She's got great potential. She really does. But when you have three planets, especially Saturn and Leo is the key to this chart. I'm going to tell you how it is. That's what's really there.
Because she seems like she's almost intuitive or psychic with all these activities.
She is intuitive. The Mercury in Scorpio is very intuitive. The moon in Pisces is very intuitive. The 12th house is very intuitive. Yes, but you see, the 12th house must be looked at very carefully. What was your question about the 12th house?
Well, it seems like she's in tune with a lot of collective spiritual things, but she might have a mask over her, maybe because of the Saturn. She seems like she could be good for us, but she just can't.
Well, I think that that's true, and I've been studying many of her charts. The problem is when you have such strong, how do I say this? I'm going to be frank with you. All through my years, when you have a Scorpio personality, you do not want too many planets in Scorpio. It's just too strong. And the temptation to consume the other is too strong.
All
When you
right.
have a Leo, you don't want too many strong planets in Leo. When you have a Taurus, you don't want too many Taurus. Almost all signs, you want a balance. And when you got 4 planets in Scorpio like she has, and then you put them in the 12th house, you got your hands full. You really do.
So she's not changing anytime soon, even with the.
I'm not gonna predict what she's going to do.
Yeah.
Okay? But I'm going to tell you, in my educated, after seeing 10,000 charts, I don't think she can. I don't think she can get past the Leo-Scorpio combination. I just don't. And I think many of us are fooled behind the mask of the Gemini and the Sag up front.
All right.
I really believe that. Susan Aver, Trump is extremely strong. I'm not going to talk about Trump today, because Trump, I could go on forever. Yeah, Dick Cheney was moon in Pisces, that's right. Many, many very powerful people have moon. Rush Limbaugh's moon in Pisces. You don't see Pisces coming out of these people. The moon is totally overwhelmed by the other planets. Good questions. Do I think any woman in politics would be as strong? I think there are people as strong. Trump bullies people because of his Mars in Leo on the ascendant. Mars sits on the ascendant in Leo, and his little Venus, here I am talking about Trump, his little Venus, Saturn, and Cancer gets his little feelings hurt. And so he makes you pay with that Mars rising in Leo. He makes you pay. But it's all got to do with a bruised little tiny boy inside. I'm not going to get into him right now. Any more questions? Identify yourself and use your mic, please.
Rick, this is Arnold. I'm just worried about, I understand what you're saying, but if you've got 2 people who, in my mind, certainly don't appear to be good,
Right.
then you'd have to take the lesser of the evils.
I'm not saying you got to take the lesson. I'm saying we are in trouble, period.
That's exactly right. So there's no...
There ain't no... You see, a cancer country, 4th of July, we want to go poof and hear Daddy Reagan come to us and tell us a little story and everything's going to be okay. It ain't going to be okay.
Except it wasn't okay.
We are in trouble.
Yeah. That's the issue.
That's the fact. And remember, but the problem is cancers, and we're a cancer country, cancers do not introspect. That's what's wrong with America. We never look inside and say, God, maybe it's something we're doing.
Exactly.
Maybe it's something we're doing. You travel through Europe and they take European surveys, the #1 most dangerous country on the planet by far is us. It's not the American people. It's the great big plutocracy that controls this place. My opinion. Now, let me ask you, does anybody disagree with my evaluation of her chart so far? Or does it make sense to you? Santa, makes sense to you. Arnold?
Yes, it does.
Okay. You see, how do I say this? This is why I no longer help people get married picking dates. When you have 2 beautiful people that want to get married, no matter what they do, front flips, back flips, they're going to get married when the time is beautiful. When you have 2 people who are not meant for each other and they really shouldn't do it, there's nothing they can do, nothing to get married at an opportune time. They're going to get married when the chart is not good. It's going to match. So we have 2 leaders emerging now who are matching who we are. Not that we're a bad people, but we've allowed this decay to just run amok. Why? Because we've preferred for a long time to put our head in the sand and just say, don't tell me this is happening. Look at what Europeans do. They get up, they learn, they read the paper, they know what's happening in other countries, they get involved, they have protests. Americans don't do it. Where's my Pokemon? Where's my Pokemon? I'm not telling you anything new. Lauren, what's on your mind? You got any ideas? Linda?
Yeah. Hi, Rick. Can you hear me?
Yeah, is this Linda?
Yep. Can you hear me?
Yeah, go ahead.
I'm just wondering, have you looked at the chart for the Green Party?
I don't have a birth time or birthday. I'm sorry. I don't have one for the Democratic Party either.
Do you have one for Jill Stein?
No, I don't. I've seen that she's a Taurus. That's all. But I also do know from facts that the GOP is dying. And I know why.
And why?
The GOP is going through a Neptune return during the next 3 years. Neptune is going around and returning, and they're trying every trick in the book, and you cannot fool Neptune. Neptune is going to take their clothes off. It's been doing it for 5-6 years now. Neptune is disrobing them, and God is saying, what are you made of spiritually? And they're trying to smoke in the mirrors and all this, and they don't have a soul. They don't have any. The GOP has sold out with this austerity. It's sold out to austerity, which means I'm not giving you anything. I'm not going to give you a bit of bread. I'm not going to give you a bit of bread. It's become heartless, and it's inadvertently cut its own roots. By cutting everybody's roots to their source, it's cut its own roots, and it's just dying. There's no hope for it. None. The only hope is to have some kind of spiritual awakening in the GOP, and I don't see that happening. Because they're spiritually dead. I don't have to tell you what Jesus told us to do with poor people, what Jesus told us to do with starving people. It is not the GOP platform. And unfortunately, the Democrats have become a lot like it too. Fear versus love. Right. Fear versus love. You all know that. Fear versus love. And how is the media controlled? Fear, 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 fear. What are we doing tonight on this little collectivity? Love. Coming together. Studying. Seeking. Searching. Many, many healers on this group tonight. Many bright teachers on this group. Many concerned people. Next question? Anybody?
Rick, this is Arnold again. I'm wondering, since the House has already just approved of a bill that will basically gut the First Amendment, by the time they leave, hopefully they're dying. By the time they leave, will they have just simply wiped the country out? I mean, our basis right off the face.
Do you really think that there's much of the United States left?
No.
I mean, honestly.
No, I don't.
Do you really? Do you feel that it is, or is it apple pie, a little apple pie math, baseball math?
No, dead.
And why? The reason why is because we won't. Pluto's all about, I'm going to give you crap and you better deal with it. We don't want to deal with it. And when we start to deal with it, the plutocracy starts to label us. Right?
Yeah.
We have to find a way. And there are a lot of good voices. At the same time, Arnold, I've written much about this, at the same time that these awful things have been happening, the other end of the seesaw has been coming up. We have these marvelous healers now and these marvelous teachers and marvelous tools in the internet. So we have great hope on one end and things are dissolving on the other end. So we just have to keep it up, you know? But we know that we can't go to the government to find our answer because there is no government, in my opinion. There's just big money.
No, there's no.
There's big money and its manipulative powers. What do you think happened to Bernie? You think Bernie really lost these elections? You think the votes were counted?
No. Bernie brought in good stuff. He pushed and pushed.
Bernie did a lot of great things.
That's exactly right. And he pushed Hillary as far as he could push her. And then
No, he didn't.
I'm not going to, buddy.
He was too nice to her.
Yeah.
He had that Virgo nature where he wasn't going to get ugly with her, and he took it too easy on her. She knew it. She just rid it. She rode the storm. Don't Don't get me going, or I'll turn Suzanne Bishop loose on you. She's down there at the bottom of the screen, and she knows 100 times more than what I know. If you're on Facebook with her, she's posting pro-Bernie stuff about every 4 minutes.
Can you
Thank God. Amy, what's on your mind?
Hey, Rick. I have a question. You know that I'm not at all familiar with the astrology things.
Right.
But I'm wondering, what about this chart that can account for all of her shameless lying? To me, that is an amazing gift she has there, to be guiltless, shameless.
Well, number one, Leo people, when they abuse the energy, Leo people are never wrong. You've got the Scorpio underhandedness. You've got the slipperiness in the first house. You know, Amy, that's not my finger. Amy, that's a pole. That's not my finger. Amy, that's not the sky. That's what she does. I mean, her husband has Venus and Mars and Libra. He's a super con artist.
Oh, yeah.
Just keep smiling. The Clinton way is just keep smiling. I didn't do it. Keep smiling.
They remind me so much of our mutual friend with LRH.
That's an inside joke. I'm going to say, yes, ma'am. And he was a Scorpio with a moon in Leo.
So there you go. I'm starting to believe.
Yeah. Well, there's no doubt if you know how to do it. But it's the combination. I really think, how do I say it? You see, let me explain to you what Leo really is about. Leo is not a bad energy. It's a wonderful energy. In my book, The Exquisite Zodiac, we spend a lot of time showing how one sign grows out of the other sign before it. And in the Cancer stage, Cancer is the fourth stage right before Leo. It's a very tender, sensitive stage, but it's going through its own wars. But it's very tender and somewhat timid oftentimes. And Leo comes out next and says, what the heck with that? No more of this timid stuff. And the perfect example of Leo energy is Mr. Robert De Niro. Are you talking to me? You ain't talking to me. That's Leo energy. That's the gift of Leo. It emerges. That's why the lion. Doggone, this is my jungle. And it is imprinted with this archetypal reaction of, I'm not wrong. No, it's you. It's not me. And that's the beauty of Leo. That's the wonderful part of it. But when you take it too far, it's never wrong. It's never wrong. It's never wrong. I don't think that's so much the case with her. I think with her, she's just slippery. She's intelligently slippery. She knows how to play the game. She knew how to play Bernie like a fiddle. He's not going to attack me. Oh, I'll be nice to him.
Yeah. Is there something where you just have no conscience?
Oh, I think so. And, boy, that's really a good question. There's not a planet that stands for it. We're getting a lot of rain here. I think in a lot of ways, in my opinion, no conscience is an aberration of Leo energy. I really believe that, not because Leos are built that way, but when you are, how do I say this? I wrote this in the book. When you are emanating the negative, dark side of Leo, as opposed to the great ones, and there are great ones, when you stop being my audience, I'm going to cross you out. Look what Castro did as a Leo. You're just on top to be on top because you deserve to be on top. And if you can say to yourself, that's loss of conscious. Well, the conscious just fades when you keep propping yourself up. Don't get me misunderstood for 1 minute. All the signs can be wonderful, and they can all be awful. It depends on how you use it. But I do believe in her case, how do I say it? She's got so much to lose. I keep looking at her chart that's called her 10th harmonic, her chart that represents her career, the one that shows the fall from grace. And I've seen her pounded, and she keeps getting by. And I keep seeing it coming in September 1st. I see the first week of October, more and more scandals. But she keeps getting by. Now, I'm saying to you, I think she gets by because of the collective mindset of the country, not because of her. Think what it will do. Watch JFK get shot. Think what it will do to the United States collective mindset if she falls from grace. Think of what we'll have to deal with then. Rather than, oh, more of her BS, same old day, more of her BS. Okay? There's a comfort to that. When you do astrology for a long time, you learn things are the way they are because that's how they are. In other words, when we're ready to pick up the mantle of being enlightened and loving each other and working together, then she won't have a chance. Look what they're doing in Canada. This wonderful new leader. Look what they're doing. They're a cancer country.
It seems to me that she's strong enough that she, no matter good or bad for the country, really, she's better for the country than the alternative.
Well, that is obvious. But when I hear her talk about how she cares about this or that part of the USA, I just don't believe it. I'm sorry.
I agree with you.
I don't believe it.
Yeah.
Now, I'm not making this my personal vendetta here, but I'm telling you what I see. Now, anybody else with questions? Amy, that was a very good question.
Rick, can you hear me?
Susan, hi. Nice to hear you. Go ahead.
Well, you had, a while back said that there is nothing left of the United States, and I have felt that way for some time and only had hope that somebody that is because I see government as a businessman, might be able to.
That's the problem, Susan. That's exactly what Bernie tried to tell us. We got to stop looking for leaders. We have to do it.
Well, okay, that's okay. So now next, here's what we're left with. What can we do? We know it's going to change, and it's not going to change for the better.
We did not learn from the terrible lesson of Ronald Reagan because we saw a cowboy up on his horse, and he lied to us, and he said he's going to save everything, so we all shut up and wait for Daddy to save us. Didn't work.
Right.
We haven't learned.
And a lot of people, I think, voted for Obama thinking the same thing.
Well, I think Obama really had a lot of good intentions, did a lot of great things. He had nobody helping him at all. But the point is, what Uranus is doing in Aries, Pluto is not the only planet here. Uranus in Aries is trying to stir us, but we don't want to get our head out of the sand. We want our head in our television.
Right.
We want our head in our Pokemon Go. We don't want things to be bad. In Europe, when I toured Europe, and I could then learn why people went to Europe abroad on their junior year, you see it on their faces. They've seen invasions from the east, huh, Arnold?
Yes.
They've seen invasions from the south. They've seen invasions from the north. They know things are impermanent. Well, we've been in La La Land. Mexico, Canada, two big oceans. Nothing can touch us. 9/11. This terrorism is just starting.
Yeah, I believe that.
Just starting. And the way you fight it is not with anti-terrorism, is you start to lower your guard and become vulnerable. You don't fight it with a wall. You fight it with the opposite. You go to the other countries and say, you don't have to go on an apology tour. My God. You say we're ready to play with you on a level playing field. And that's not how it is. You see, I realized a long time ago, a cancer country like America is playing whack a country. We're playing whack a country. We don't really want to dominate countries, but we don't want anybody standing up. Whack. If you stand up, I'm threatened. What could you possibly do? Those are very Cancerian qualities. Hold on, I got a whole bunch of notes being passed to me by the crowd here.
Rick, I've actually got a really good question. I think it's something that's probably on everybody's mind, especially since the events of what happened in Great Britain a couple of weeks ago now. Everybody knows about Brexit, obviously, and what's happened to the UK. That they're leaving the European Union, or at least that's what's on paper and that's what's on the agenda. Well, I mean, then there's been subsequent rumblings about that possibly happening here in the United States. I mean, Texas, of course, which everybody knows, has talked about something similar now, I think was really emboldened by that, or at least let's not say the whole state, but certain people within the state were very emboldened by the idea of Britain breaking away from the European Union. So now they're proposing that Texas do the same thing in the United States.
They've been wanting to do that for 150 years.
Right. But I mean, what are your thoughts
Number
about
one thing is we've got to stop listening to these people that have us fighting each other. We've got to stop fighting each other. My God, you go on Facebook, you have to tiptoe. Somebody's ready to bite your face off.
That is true.
We have to stop fighting each other and come together and realize how powerful we are, like Liza said to me, to start doing work at the social level, at the grassroots level, and build our own movements. And the next avatar we're going to have, as the age of Aquarius enters, is going to be the group. I wrote an article a couple of years ago, about how free Americans are. Wow, they want to come here and be free. And then I realized
You're not free.
We're not free. We are paranoid, stick in a little box. We're not free.
Right.
I think
we're very powerful. Our problem is very simple. We just haven't been tested yet. We've had it too easy. And we're resilient people. We're resourceful people. Foreigners love us as people. They know it. We have not been seasoned. And over there, what's happening, as I've written about, I believe, is this is the first time in global history that we've all met each other. We've never met each other before. You were up in that hollow, you were in that hollow, you were in that hollow, you were over here. Now, because of the internet, we've all met each other. We have this huge friction. You have people like Trump, the ultra opportunists, trying to take advantage of us, and we cannot let that happen. Like the leader on this page is Suzanne Bishop on this screen. You watch her, follow her. She never stops fighting. That's what we got to do. We got to keep fighting. Look at Arnold's body language. Arnold, your body language to me is we're beaten.
Or let's leave.
No, we're not beaten. We're not beaten. We need to turn our attention towards the problem. And the number one problem is television. The people that control it.
I'm thinking about something here, though. As you know, I live in South Florida and in Miami, Fort Lauderdale area. And we have every shade of skin, every language, everything that we can have, which is a marvelous way to live, an absolutely phenomenal way to live. And when I think about other places where I've lived, other than the Northwest, which is great, other places still have that. Well, they still have a lot of prejudice here, but the prejudice of Arizona, of the Tennessee, Kentucky against every color. I mean, it's horrible against and this little small-minded religious bunch is taking over and eliminating freedom, and we've got to do something to stop that.
Well, the other end of this whole thing is how Jesus's word came out and got abused. We need to do what Jesus said, what he meant, and not what the Bible turned into.
Right.
What he meant and what the Bible says are two different things. Because a lot of people are still honoring the Old Testament, and he didn't have anything to do with the Old Testament. But, you know, as long as people say, I'm in the right club, you're in the wrong club, we got 38,000 versions of Christianity on this planet. 38,000 permutations. And the main thing is, let's try lesson 1. We all know what lesson 1 was, Jesus said.
Love thy neighbor.
Treat people like you want to be treated. We can't get past 1.
Rick?
Hey.
It's Susan.
Yes.
You talk about, you know, being in the right or wrong club. I feel like the citizens of this country are in one club and our government is in another club. And it's so overwhelming on the government's side and corrupt that voting, I don't know what voting does. What do we do to take our country back?
I don't agree with you at all. I think the government is nothing more than
because
the government's nothing more than a bunch of us.
You and I and all of us, we might have our preferred candidate, you know, the lesser of the evils or something like this.
I tell you what to do, Susan. Stop shopping at Walmart. Stop shopping at the places that are abusing us. Stop shopping at places, stop supporting places that are abusive, that are screwing our people, that are poisoning. Stop buying Monsanto's products. Whatever it is your thing is.
Yeah.
Stop supporting it. It will die. These people, these CEOs are hypersensitive to criticism. Hypersensitive.
Yeah.
For one little tick in one little graph. Stop playing their game. But, you know, we just keep pouring into McDonald's. They keep pouring into Walmart, screwing all these little companies. Yeah, I don't have to tell you these things. We know what these things are.
Us people are not standing together. We're not
That's
standing
because they're putting out a phenomenal force, not allowing us to. You know, a lot of us on this group used to belong to a group called the Democratic Underground. And we had a wonderful person, I'm not going to mention her name, a wonderful person who's still very active, working out of the South. And all she did was try to help. And she put together huge websites to help people. You know, I got a ladder, you need a ladder. I got 3 extra cars, you need a car. I got some money, you need a dental help. She just did this, and she was working her heart out. And what did they do? They put her on Glenn Beck's show as a socialist. They popped her up as a socialist.
Yeah.
And the media worked against her. And all she was doing was good old American trying to help people. So we've got to use rational, logical thinking when we hear this crap. And the number one thing we got to do every time we walk in a doctor's office or any kind of office that's got the FOX network on, we got to say, turn it off or I'm leaving. Turn it off or I'm leaving.
Exactly.
We can't sit on our hands, be quiet.
Rick? Hello?
Yeah.
This
Hi,
is
Carla.
I'm sorry, I had to work late.
All right.
Is there a way for me to get a synopsis of what you said about Our Lady, Hillary?
The whole chart, this entire broadcast will be on YouTube in a few days.
Okay, great. Then I can get it there. I just want to make one comment we have overlooked. That the biggest disaster, the biggest addiction are the smartphones. And unless we all learn how to work them, we are dead. Dead. And I'll tell you why I know that.
Good point.
Because when 10 years ago, when I went to the medical convention, the military came. They showed us how destructive the EMFs are from those smartphones when you have them on your ear. You can only talk on your phone 1 minute, never in the car. And they told us, tell your patients to stop using those damn things. They will all have, you know, tumors in their brains. Now, there's a woman who wears her phone over her chest, a nurse. She has a huge hole in her chest now, a big cancer right there. When are we, and you cannot get this damn thing out of people's hands. And that's what's going to divide us. No one is looking at anyone.
Our number one problem in the world is not our phones. Smartphones have been voted the number one invention in the history of man. We certainly have problems with phones. Our number one problem is our hole in the chest. It's called the heart and love.
Yes, thank you. Love is the highest frequency.
Look at the wonderful people in this group. Imagine us being together, the kind of hell we could raise, and the wonderful things that we could do.
Yes.
But we've got to fight for it. We've got to stand up. We have to do it. We can't wait for Bernie. Bernie's 74, whatever, and he's worked his butt off, thank God. And we just have to not turn against each other. Well, it's the blacks. No, it's the whites. Well, it's the purples. Well, it's the greens. Let me hear from more of you. Santa, you've been very quiet. What do you have to say? Unmute yourself. What do you have to say as we go through this evening?
Well, I agree with everything that you're saying, and I like it that there are a lot of like-minded people out there. And I just wonder, I mean, I feel like I'm awake with myself sometimes, you know, about these issues, because there isn't a way to generate a momentum or to increase the vibration and to take action.
We're doing it now.
Right, I agree. I agree.
We're doing it now.
Good.
You started this evening. I love all of you. I mean, I do. I love all of you, and I'm sure you love us too. And I'm tired of people giving me this crap. Oh, Trump just tells it like it is. Well, okay, you go listen to it.
Yeah.
But you know and I know we all go around and there's such wonderful people all around us. Right, Carla? There's just all these wonderful people around us. And I got to wrap up in the next few minutes. I have tried not to be doomy, gloomy about her chart, but I'm a straight shooter, and I'm telling you, the chart is of a universal queen. Being queen of the United States is not enough. She wants to be queen of the universe. That's what the chart says. That's what it says to me. I could be totally wrong. I have a lot of experience that points to it. You can think what you think, but I showed you where the pieces are. I have a lot of faith in us. And my wonderful girlfriend just handed me this. And this is from Mr. Jung, from his book called The Red Book. In 1917, Jung published a short book. And in his preface, dated December 1916, 100 years ago, he proclaimed the psychological processes that accompanied the war had brought the problem of the chaotic unconscious to the forefront of attention. However, the psychology of the individual corresponded to the psychology of the nation. And only the transformation of the attitude of the individual can bring about cultural renewal. We can't do anything. Miss Trimble,
yeah.
Your answer is to change your own brain. Change my own brain. Santa, you change your own brain. John, change your own consciousness. I'm not any better than anybody. I've got to become a source a fountain of love for people around me. That's the only answer. Is there another answer, Arnold?
Not that I know of. Hiding in a cave sounds good.
Huh?
Hiding in a cave sounds good, but I don't think that's going to work.
That'll work real good. You know, it is a worrisome time. Things are going to be intense. But, you know, we just, Dakota's with us now. I'm sorry for all the people I didn't get to. It's been very good. I tried to not get too heavy with the astrology, but to show you how it works and show you how complex a chart can be. And see, I keep seeing things come to Hillary's chart that are going to bring her down, but she keeps going. And I've learned that. And why is that?
Yeah.
Let me tell you a story. I saw a woman, a Libra woman came to me one day at a fair, and she was having an affair with this guy, and the guy was married to this woman for like 40 years. So she kept having his affair with this guy. She wanted to know from me, is he going to leave? No. Is he going to leave? Well, the point is, I went back and did the chart of the husband and the wife. And the reason you can't tell a person what's going to happen, for example, when you're in a marriage, if you get to the 28th year and things aren't good, you're in trouble. You'd better fix that marriage or get out or become unreal. Fix the marriage, get out, or become unreal. So what the husband and wife had done was they lived in two parts of a duplex. So this woman's wondering when they're going to leave. He's going to leave his wife. He already did. You see, you cannot fool the planets. That's why Pluto is destroying the United States, not because Pluto wants to, but because inside of us, we literally can't take it anymore. So what have I written so much about Pluto? You haul the garbage out or you suffer with it. And I guarantee you, the answer to all these things tonight, the answer is we have to start treating other countries with more respect, above board, even though we know they got their tricks. We got to stop closing our 170 military bases.
Yep.
And quit playing whack a country. Anyhow, it's been a wonderful night. I really enjoyed it. I did what I could. I really appreciate all of you. I will be announcing to you how to get this. I'll be announcing to you when this is on YouTube. Go to Rick DiClemente on YouTube and sign up to my channel, and you will be told automatically.
Hey, Rick.
Yeah.
Thank you, Rick.
Can you do, I still have the chart from when the last time you did my years ago. Can you do webinar charts over the internet?
I can do just about anything anymore over the internet. So call me when you need something done, Ray.
Thank you.
Amy, love you, sweetie. Love you all. Bye-bye.
Good job, Rick.
Thank you, Rick.
Thank you all. It's great.
Thanks, Rick.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.